Thank you for clicking on this video. I am Martin Prevost, and it is time for another Rank the Movies special event. Now, Sunday is the Oscars, the biggest event in all of Hollywood. And let me tell you, this year they got a lot of great Best Picture nominees. Jojo Rabbit, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Joker, all part of my top 10 favorite movies from 2019. So I thought this week we'd take a look at some Best Picture nominees and come up with my top 10 Best Picture winners. These are the movies that have won the award already through all the years of the Academy Awards. I haven't seen every movie that's ever won Best Picture. Some of them interested me more than others. But that is what it is. Here are my top 10. So before we get going, obviously it's time to start with our honorable mention. Titanic. This movie took the award home back in 1997. I'm not going to go into what else was competing against Titanic for that award. And most people know the plot of this movie. It is a huge 3-hour plus epic about the Titanic going down. And a love story featuring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. And you know, I'm the King of the World. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie, but it was definitely, when I was going through what had won Best Picture over the years, it was one that stuck with me, and it was worth including as our honorable mention. Alright, time to move on to the list proper. Number 10, Crash. This movie was an upset victory movie back in 2005. Everyone thought Brokeback Mountain was going to take the award and sweep everything, and all of a sudden Crash crashed into the scene and went, "Hey, I was a movie, you should give the award to me," and they did. It's an interesting movie. It really looks at race and people in culture and how everything plays together and affects in this big ball world we live in. It is a good movie. Again, it is an overhyped movie. I think that happens a lot with Oscar winners, is they're just very overhyped movies, and they really don't stand the test of time after they've already won the big award. I don't think they really look at that going, oh, it made it, and it's still going to be remembered years from now. Some of them obviously are. I don't think all of them are, and I think Crash is a good example of that, though I do enjoy the movie. Number 9, Rocky, 1976. This falls into a very special category of movies I don't think people expected to win Best Picture. Rocky. It's Sylvester Stallone directing, writing, and acting as Rocky. Rocky Balboa, the story of the Italian stallion who came up from nothing, who was a dirt boxer, and got a shot at the champion Apollo Creed, where he loses in a split decision. That's right. Rocky loses in his first fight of the first movie, because it is that moral victory that he went all the rounds with Apollo Creed. He put up a great fight. He didn't win, but he did everything he could to try to win. That's really the moral of this story, is don't give up and keep pushing yourself to be better. It is a good movie. It spawned 4 sequels starring Sylvester Stallone, and plus it has the spin-off Creed series where Stallone still plays Rocky, but it focuses on a different boxer. It is a great movie, and it's definitely worth the Academy Award it won. Number 8, Schindler's List, 1993. Here is another giant epic of a movie, multi-hour long, black and white with some color thrown in, but it is a very good movie, portraying the life of Oskar Schindler as he tried to save Jewish people during the Holocaust. Tried to employ them so they wouldn't be sent to their deaths. It is a gripping story. It's one you can watch and take something away from it later on. It is a great movie, and it definitely deserved the award it won. Number 7, Casablanca, 1943. Here's a classic among classics. When you talk about movies that definitely stood the test of time, Casablanca is one of them. It is considered one of the greatest love stories ever told, and it is. It is a decent movie. I enjoyed it when I watched it. I was definitely gripped by it, and it pulled me in. And it's definitely worth checking out. It is not overhyped or anything. It is a very good movie. It is an outstanding movie that is definitely worth the nomination it received and all the praise it's gotten over the years since 1943 when it came out. Or I guess it would have been 1942 is when it came out because it won the award in 43. Number 6, American Beauty, 1999. This will fall into that category of movies people think are overhyped and overrated within the arc of Best Picture winners. I still enjoy it. I still think it is a very enjoyable film that's worth rewatching, that's worth looking at again. And it tells a very interesting story because you have Kevin Spacey, who I know, oh my god, it's Kevin Spacey. We hate Kevin Spacey, and whatever, he's a great actor. He's done stupid things, but the man is a good actor. He leads this movie about, a guy going through a midlife crisis, and his family that gets kind of pulled along through it. His daughter who feels neglected, his wife who also feels neglected, and it's all of them dealing with this world that they find themselves in, and going through these changes, all kind of together and bringing in the neighbors and other characters. It is a good movie, and I really do think it was worth the Oscar it won. Other people might disagree with me, but I like American Beauty. It is a good and entertaining film. Number 5, The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. This movie is definitely a outlier for a lot of Oscar winners. Most Oscar-nominated movies come out in the latter half of the year. Silence of the Lambs came out at the beginning of the year. It was a January, February, or March release. So by the time Oscars came around the following year, no one thought of Silence of the Lambs. No one went, Silence of the Lambs? That's what we should nominate. But they made a big campaign, they pushed for it, and Thomas Harris's novel that got turned into a movie won Best Picture in 1991. It is a great movie. Anthony Hopkins is fantastic as Hannibal Lecter, but, just go watch the movie and you'll totally see why he is so good in that role. The story itself is really interesting, with Jodie Foster's Clarice Starling trying to figure out what Hannibal Lecter actually knows and doesn't know about the Buffalo Bill serial killer who's going out and murdering people. It's a good story, it's an interesting story, and it's definitely worth checking out. Number 4, Amadeus, 1984. To be perfectly honest, this is the most recent movie I've watched on this list for the first time. Less than a week from when I'm filming this was the first time I actually laid eyes on Amadeus. I've been wanting to watch it for a long time, finally got around to it. It is a fantastic movie. It chronicles the life of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and his rise and fall in popularity during his lifetime. And it introduces a villain in this movie as one of his rivals who, admires Mozart and wants to be more like Mozart as far as his talent, but hates Mozart because he devoted himself to God to get his talent, and Mozart just has it. It is a phenomenal film. It is worth watching if you've never seen it before. It grips you, it takes you in, and it makes you want to watch more of it. It keeps your attention and keeps you going from start to finish. Not to mention Tom Huckel, who plays Amadeus, and F. Murray Abraham, who plays the other composer, whose name I just slips my mind at this exact moment. Give great performances. In fact, they were both also nominated for Best Actor for this movie. It's the last time two actors from the same movie were nominated for Best Actor. F. Murray Abraham won, and it's well worth it. This movie deserves its accolades. It is a great, great film. Number 3, Chicago. This was 2002's Best Picture winner, and the last time a musical has won for Best Picture. I enjoy this one. I like the music. I like the style of this movie and the way it's set up with the idea that it's, the show in her mind and everything that's going on is what's happening inside of her head. Those are some great concepts, and I think they are pulled through very nicely in this movie. Catherine Zeta-Jones, Renee Zellweger, Richard Gere all give performances that are wonderful and are great to watch. It is a fun movie with great music and great design, and it tells a decent story. Basically, you have Roxy Hart, played by Renee Zellweger. She shoots her lover, goes to prison, and to await trial, while Catherine Zeta-Jones' character has also murdered her sister and her husband, and is also awaiting trial. And it's just about how in the 1920s, Chicago kind of emphasized murder, especially if it was women killing men. They emphasized it. They wanted it. To them, it was entertainment when it was about death penalty cases. It was a form of entertainment, and this follows through. Richard Gere plays the lawyer, Billy Flynn, who is just another part of this three-ring circus that is the judicial system at this time. It is a great movie. I so enjoy it. And if you've never seen it before, definitely check it out. It is worth it. Number 2, The Apartment, 1960. This is the Best Picture winner of 1960. It is a black and white film back when they were making color film. It's the last true black and white film to win. Schindler's List was shot in black and white, but that was a choice by the director. This was also still a choice, but you still had black and white films coming out regularly, so it wasn't necessarily a aesthetic choice. It was just, this is what the director had shot on. The director had almost always shot on black and white film as his medium, and therefore he just continued filming that way. Black and white films on a regular basis would be phased out in the 60s for all color films, except the few instances where they would go back and, do it for a style. This wasn't done for a style. This was just a black and white film. It is a great film. It's a comedy, which is rare to see win the big statue, which adds a lot to it. You have Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, and Fred MacMurray, and they give tremendous performances. Basically, you have Jack Lemmon, who's a single man, lives in an apartment in New York, and he basically lets his superiors use his apartment for having affairs. He allows them into his apartment to have affairs, and he goes out and does other crap just so he can get promotions, so he can get looked at better in his job and not be put upon as much. Until one day he meets Shirley MacLaine, who he is interested in, but is currently the mistress of his boss's boss's boss, the head of the company. She is his mistress. And so he backs off until one fateful night, Fred MacMurray, who is the head guy, breaks it off with his mistress, Shirley MacLaine, and she attempts suicide in Jack Lemmon's apartment. He finds her, and he has to help her through that act, and they kind of bond. It's a really good movie. It's a touching movie. It is a funny movie. If you've never seen The Apartment, it's worth it. Billy Wilde is a great director, and this was such a good movie. I see why it won Best Picture for 1960. It was so good. So that leaves us with only one movie left. So what is the number one movie of all the Best Pictures out there for me? Well, it is Birdman. Or The Unexpected Virtues of Ignorance. Ha! I'm really surprised I remembered that, because I almost never remember the subtitle of this movie. But it is Birdman. Now, in 2014, this was a movie I didn't expect to get nominated for Best Picture. I didn't expect it to win Best Picture, but I liked that it won. I enjoyed this movie so much when I went to theaters and saw it. Just the style it was shot in, the fact that it looks like it was done all in one take, like an actual theater performance, it was just so beautifully done. Michael Keaton's performance is amazing in it. Zach Galifianakis has a great performance. Naomi Watts, Emma Stone, Edward Norton, they all give such good performances and strong performances in this movie. And it is such a good concept, because you have this has-been actor who played Birdman, which is basically a superhero, kind of like Batman, which, Michael Keaton, makes sense. And now he's trying to reestablish his career after being bogged down by being Birdman. And he does that by writing and directing his own play, and it's just not going well for him. It is a great movie. If you've never seen Birdman, check it out. It deserved Best Picture, and it deserves so many more accolades through its life. It is just a very good and entertaining and heartfelt movie. Alright, well, those are my top 10 favorite Best Picture nominees. If you can think of some that maybe I missed, maybe I should check out if I've never seen them before, hit me with some comments. Otherwise, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to make sure you catch what else I've got. Otherwise, I will see you next time. We're going back. It's February, so it's time to talk more Dump Month. See you then.